A flight attendant kicked a black boy off the plane, assuming he didn't belong in first class. Little did she know, just moments later, he would reveal himself as the owner of the airline's son. What happens next will leave you stunned and deliver a powerful lesson about judgment and assumptions. Watch until the end to see how this incredible story unfolds. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share in the comments where you're watching from. The bustling terminal of LAX International Airport buzzed with flight announcements, the hum of rolling luggage, and the hurried steps of passengers rushing to their gates. Among the travelers was Eli Bennett, a 12-year-old black boy with bright, curious eyes and a quiet confidence that belied his age. Eli, dressed in a simple blue hoodie and jeans, carried a backpack filled with books and snacks for his journey. It was his first time flying alone, and he was headed to San Francisco to visit his father, Marcus Bennett, the CEO of Vista Air, one of the nation's top luxury airlines, raised to value humility and kindness despite his family's wealth. Eli was excited but slightly nervous about the solo trip. After handing his first-class ticket to the gate agent, who smiled warmly, Eli made his way down the jet bridge. Once on board, he located his seat, 2A, right at the front of the cabin. He carefully placed his backpack under the seat and pulled out his favorite book about airplanes. Eli had inherited his father's passion for aviation and loved learning everything about how planes worked. As Eli settled in, Lauren Hayes, a flight attendant in her mid-30s with a sharp, no-nonsense demeanor, walked briskly down the aisle, her eyes scanning the cabin. Spotting Eli, her expression immediately darkened. "Excuse me," Lauren said curtly. "Are you sure you're in the right seat?" Eli looked up, startled but polite. "Yes, ma'am. This is my seat 2A." Lauren's frown deepened as she crossed her arms. "First class isn't for standby passengers or upgrades," she said, her tone laced with suspicion. "This section is for paying customers only." Eli blinked, confused. "I have a ticket," he said, reaching into his pocket to retrieve it. But Lauren waved him off without looking. "You need to move to the back," she said firmly. "I can't have people sitting where they don't belong." Her words hung in the air, catching the attention of nearby passengers, who exchanged uneasy glances but remained silent. Embarrassed, Eli tried again. "I really do have a ticket," he said, his voice quieter this time. Lauren sighed impatiently. "Look, I don't have time for this. Either you move, or I'll have to ask you to leave the plane." Tears stung Eli's eyes as he reluctantly grabbed his backpack and stood. "Fine," he said softly, trying to keep his composure as he walked down the aisle. He stopped near the exit, unsure of what to do next, while Lauren radioed the gate agents. "Remove this child," she said curtly. The gate agent, Sarah Martinez, approached, clearly confused. "He's a ticketed passenger," Sarah said, glancing at Eli's boarding pass. Lauren dismissed her with a wave. "I don't have time for this." Eli stepped off the plane and stood near the gate, fighting back tears. Passengers in the terminal whispered among themselves, their curiosity piqued by the unusual scene. As Eli stood there, unsure of what to do, Naomi Blake, the terminal manager, noticed him. Naomi, a sharp-eyed professional in her early 40s, had worked closely with Marcus Bennett on various airline initiatives and recognized Eli immediately. "Eli," Naomi said, approaching him, "what are you doing out here? You're supposed to be on the flight." Eli explained what had happened, his voice trembling. "She didn't even look at my ticket. She just assumed I wasn't supposed to be there." Naomi's face hardened. "Stay right here," she said, pulling out her phone. Moments later, she was on a call with Marcus Bennett. "Marcus," Naomi said, her tone sharp, "your son was just kicked off one of your flights." "Yes, kicked off. He's standing here in tears because one of your employees assumed he didn't belong in first class." Marcus's voice was equally firm. "I'll be there immediately. Don't let that plane take off." 11 minutes later, Marcus strode into the terminal, his tailored suit and commanding presence drawing attention. Spotting Eli, he knelt and pulled him into a hug. "Are you okay, son?" Marcus asked, his voice filled with concern. Eli nodded, though his eyes were still red. I didn't do anything wrong, Dad. I know, Marcus said, standing. Let's make this right. Naomi led them back to the gate. On board, Lauren was speaking with the captain when Marcus and Eli entered the plane. The murmurs among passengers grew louder as they recognized the CEO of Vista Air. Marcus approached Lauren, his expression calm but steely. Are you the flight attendant who removed my son from this plane? Lauren blinked, taken aback. I didn't know he was your son, she stammered. That shouldn't matter. Marcus replied firmly. You didn't check his ticket. You humiliated a child in front of your passengers because of an assumption. Do you treat all customers this way? Or just the ones who don't look like they belong in first class? Lauren flushed, her composure slipping. I thought he was trying to sneak in. You thought wrong, Marcus said coldly. Turning to the captain, he added, this plane isn't going anywhere until this matter is resolved. Marcus then turned to address the passengers, his deep voice carrying through the cabin. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for the disruption, but this is a matter of principle. No one, especially a child, should be treated as though they don't belong simply because of their appearance. My son, Eli, had every right to be here. This kind of behavior does not represent the values of Vista Air and will not be tolerated. The passengers erupted into applause, many nodding in agreement. Marcus turned back to Lauren. You are relieved of your duties for this flight. I will be discussing your employment status with HR. Lauren's face went pale as she gathered her belongings and exited the plane in silence. After the situation was resolved, Eli returned to his seat, this time with Marcus sitting beside him. Passengers smiled at Eli reassuringly, offering kind words of encouragement. Are you okay now? Marcus asked. Eli nodded, managing a small smile. Yeah, thanks for coming, Dad. Always, Marcus said, ruffling his son's hair. In the weeks following the incident, Marcus launched a full investigation into Vista Air's training programs. Lauren's dismissal was announced publicly, and the airline implemented mandatory training on customer service and racial bias for all employees. Months later, Eli sat in his father's office, flipping through designs for a new airline initiative aimed at making luxury travel more accessible to underserved communities. Dad, Eli said, looking up, I want to help with this. I want to make sure no one else ever feels like they don't belong. Marcus smiled, pride evident on his face. You've already started doing that. Eli, let's keep building it together. As Eli gazed out the office window, watching a plane soar into the sky, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. What had begun as a moment of humiliation had turned into a powerful lesson for him, his father, and the airline as a whole. Have you ever experienced or witnessed unfair treatment like Eli did? Share your story in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more inspiring tales of justice and resilience.